releasing the outcomes of an independent investigative report concerning allegations of racism at Pretoria Girls High. That address has just started. Let's listen in.
Commitment to our work. No one can come close to us. I can give you a year to 2 years. Go and do your own research. You'll come back. That's why we continue to become an attractive system in the country. Across, people coming into our provinces, bringing their children here. One retired principal says to me, Gauteng residents don't want to take their children to private schools because they know that in public, their children do get the same quality, if not better. And there they pay more. But because of challenges of whichever challenge that sometimes they experience, they are forced, some of them, to really take their kids to this, as you put it, unpalatable, high-paying fees, private schools. So the level of integrity, the commitment that GDE always possesses is unmatched, confidently. So that's why we said, no, beyond our own internal reporting and investigation, let us bring the external Mdladlamba. We've got the director of Mdladlamba, Attorney Charles Mdladlamba here, who will then do the investigation and then give us a report. I have not seen the report. I don't know what he's going to present, like you and many. But what they've done in the morning is to brief, obviously, the stakeholders, the SGB and the SMT of the school on high level. But they've not really gone in to brief me thoroughly. So I said, no, let me just come like everybody. Let me get the report properly first time with everyone. Mr. Mdladlamba.
Thank you, MEC. Thank you, Mr. Mabon.
Who's this one?
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Today, I'm going to share with you a high-level summary of the investigation report. As we all know, the mandate was to investigate all allegations of racism here at the school. And the scope of the investigation was, inter alia, to look into the allegations themselves, the circumstances around the allegations made, the conduct of the principal, whether such allegations were reported to the GDE. We're also to look at the conduct of the school management team and the role, if any, of the SGB of the school. I need to emphasize this. These allegations were put forward, but they were tested against the records of the school, the policies of the school, and the law. Therefore, the findings of the investigations are factual. They are based on evidence and concessions that was made by some of the implicated persons. In summary, the allegations were, I will start in the teaching and learning environment. There was the issue of the WhatsApp group where it was said that the learners in that group made racial remarks. Another allegation that was put forward was the selective application of discipline based on the race of the accused learner. There was also an allegation about the lack of transparency on the part of the school on how complaints are dealt with. And this was linked to the bullying of one learner, which we describe as learner 6, by the 12 learners from the WhatsApp group. There was also an allegation that was made about black learners that were said to have racially abused white learners in 2020, and the GDE failed to act on that particular incident when it was reported by the school. It was further submitted that because of this, there was a mass departure of learners at the school. Another allegation that was put forward was that black learners in July 2024, they've also racially abused learners of other races, and this was in response of the WhatsApp group messages becoming public. There's also an allegation that white educators here at the school do not greet their fellow black educators. And when this was questioned, the response was that it is because the white educators do not know whether the black educators are cleaners or educators here at the school. We now move to the administration unit and the allegations related specifically to the position of the finance manager. The allegation was that the finance manager was favored and appointed to the position based on her race without meeting the qualification requirements and without any application and interview process as required by the school's employment policy. Due to the finance manager not being qualified for the position, the school secured external support so she could succeed in the position, the extent of which was never provided to the black person that previously held that position. Now, I will deal with the allegations in the estate facilities unit. The allegations in that unit was that the estate facility manager position was reserved for white persons. And once the white person is appointed, they are trained on the job by the black supervisors and team leaders because they do not have the experience for that position. That, as a result, discouraged a lot of people for applying for that position. It is further said that the estate facility manager, who is white and appointed in the position for the past 4 years, has outsourced his responsibilities of managing gardeners to a person who is white but not employed by the school. Please note that this person turned out to be the husband of the principal. The estate facility manager in school permits the same person, the husband of the principal, to drive the school's vehicle and was at some point signing purchase orders for garden-related items. The spouse of the principal is also said to be involved in the employment of gardeners here at the school. And the estate facility manager does not greet fellow black employees and is using abusive language when addressing them. Those were, in summary, the allegations that were put forward. Now, during the drafting of the investigation report, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation addressed a letter to the MEC making a submission inter alia that the GDE should reconsider the investigation it was conducting at the school. The foundation made comments regarding the events of 18 July 2024. It appears from the letter the foundation only met with a delegation from the SGB and the GDE. The affected learners appear not to have been consulted by the foundation and were not given an opportunity to share their experiences as learners at the school. I will now deal with the findings in the report. The first one relates to the WhatsApp group allegations. The investigation did not look into the WhatsApp messages, as that issue was decided upon by a disciplinary hearing. It is common cause that the disciplinary hearing was only initiated in July 2024, and the 12 learners were found not guilty of the charges. It is a finding in the report that the allegations were reported to the principal and the deputy principal in October 2023 by learners 3, 6, and 23. The principal mishandled the complaint. She was not transparent with the 3 learners on how she dealt with their complaint. The learners kept asking about the status of their complaint, and they were advised by the deputy principal responsible for discipline that the investigation was pending. It was the same time the bullying of learner 6 by the 12 learners from the WhatsApp group was reported to the deputy principal. The learners followed up again on the status of their complaint in term 2 of 2024. The response was the same, that the investigation was pending. This led to the events of 18 July 2024, where it is said that there was a protest and there was a bullying of learners of other races by some black learners in response to the WhatsApp group becoming public. The principal, therefore, failed to comply with her obligations as set out in paragraph 5.1.1.2c and 5.1.1.5i and n of the policy on the South African standard for principalship. The principal has therefore committed misconduct as provided in section 18(1)(a) and f of the Employment of Educators Act. I will now deal with the co-option of the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing. It appears that the co-option did not comply with Regulation 9, read together with Regulations 28 and 29 of the Governing Body Regulation for Public Schools. It also appears from paragraph 18.3 of a letter that the GDE received from the SGB on 21 September 2024 through a firm of attorneys that the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing submitted an invoice. The SGB has refused to share this invoice. In terms of the South African Schools Act, which is also reflected in paragraph 27.1 of the SGB Constitution, the SGB members cannot charge for services rendered except to claim for necessary expenses. This aspect has been referred for further investigation. I will now deal with the selective application of discipline based on race. It is found that there is a selective application of discipline at the school. For instance, no action was taken against the learners that bullied learner 6. Another example is that of a learner that attended a school event drunk, which is a Schedule 1 offense in terms of the school code of conduct. The incident was reported to the principal, and according to the deputy principal responsible for discipline, there is no record of any disciplinary steps that were taken against this learner. Be that as it may, this selective application of discipline cannot be said to be based on race. It is because there is a learner, and this is a black learner, that is said to openly bullying a white educator here at the school, and discipline is not applied. The principal is aware of this incident. 2 educators were found to have committed misconduct in the classroom and have been referred for discipline for contravening item 3 of the SABC Professional Ethics Code. A 3rd educator has been referred for further investigation. Lack of transparency in the handling of complaints, which was linked to the bullying of learner 6. The investigation found on 2 occasions, learner 6 reported the bullying incident by the 12 learners to the deputy principal, and the deputy principal failed to act on the complaint. This is notwithstanding the deputy principal having informed learner 6 that she was going to investigate the complaint. It is also a finding in the report that the deputy principal appears to have misled the principal and GDE officials when she claimed that she was waiting on learner 6 to provide evidence or written statement on the bullying incident. The deputy principal further failed to act on a bullying incident reported by learner 10 when she was bullied by other learners here at the school. This was a separate incident, not linked to the WhatsApp group. The deputy principal, by failing to act on these matters, contravened paragraph 7.1.5J of the school's Code of Conduct for Educators, read together with item 3 of the SABC Professional Ethics Code, and thus has committed misconduct under section 18(1)(a), F, and Z of the Employment of Educators Act. Now, I will deal with the incident of black learners racially abusing white learners in 2020. The incident was reported by the principal to the GDE and the SGB. The minutes of the SGB of 2020 indicate that the GDE provided the necessary support to the school regarding this incident. And the SGB was content with the support and went further to conduct its own investigation into the incident by appointing 2 counsel from the Pretoria Bar. According to the principal, a decision was then taken, or was later taken, by the SGB at the time that no disciplinary steps will be taken against the accused learners. This was notwithstanding that there was a request that discipline must be applied equally to all learners. In the report, it is found the principal failed to give feedback to the educator that lodged the complaint with her about this incident, because whenever the educator inquired about her complaint, the principal will tell her, "We have it in hand." And the educator was never informed of the decision by the SGB. As a result, 4 years later, the educator cried when she related the incident. And she went on retirement at the end of September 2024, thinking that it was the GDE that made the decision not to discipline the accused black learners at the school. There are other educators that share this view. This is notwithstanding the fact that discipline is the purview of the school management and the SGB. It is due to this failure by the principal to give feedback that it is found she again contravened paragraph 5.1.1.2c and 5.1.1.5i of the policy on the South African standard for principalship. The complaints against black learners in July 2024. It is common cause that there are complaints that were lodged with the school relating to some black learners racially abusing learners of other races. This was said to be a response to the WhatsApp group messages. These complaints are being investigated by the school management. White educators not greeting their fellow black educators because they do not know whether they are cleaners or educators at the school. One needs to qualify this. It is not all white educators at the school, but some white educators or staff members. The allegation that white educators do not greet their black colleagues was confirmed by the principal. According to the principal, this is her biggest frustration that she must deal with at the school, including the ill treatment of the administration staff by some educators. The principal further indicated that her challenge is that the administration staff do not want to name the educators that are ill-treating them, and thus she cannot take the necessary disciplinary steps against them. Those are the allegations and findings in relation to teaching and learning. I will now move to deal with the allegations relating to the finance manager being favored. The position was advertised 3 times. It is a finding that the finance manager does not possess a degree or a diploma, which is a requirement for the position. It is further found that the finance manager could not be appointed in this position using paragraph 13 of the school's employment policy. The principal, the HR manager, and the finance manager herself all confirmed that the finance manager never applied for the position in the first round. When she applied for the position in the second round, she was shortlisted, albeit she did not possess the qualifications for the position. She was found not to be suitable to be appointed, hence she was never appointed, and the school had to start the process afresh. The finance manager did not apply for the position in the third round. There were 3 candidates, and there was only one that was appointed. Even under paragraph 20B of the school's employment policy, which deals with positions proving to be difficult to fill, it is required that there must be an application and interview process. It is further clear from the consultancy agreement entered into between the school and the company of the person that used to be the finance manager here at the school, who is white. The services being rendered by that company or that individuals are not only a handover process, but covers all the duties of the finance manager at the school. Albeit no conclusive evidence was found that the finance manager was appointed to the position because of a race, the evidence indicates she was favored for appointment, and this appointment was not in line with the school's employment policy. Consequently, the principal contravened, again, the policy on the South African standard for principalship, and in terms of section 18(1) A and F of the Employment of Educators Act, has committed misconduct. The HR manager has failed also in this regard to comply with her obligations to ensure adherence to the school's employment policy as set out in paragraph 8.1.3 thereof. As a result, she has committed misconduct under paragraph 11.4 of the school's disciplinary code and procedure for support staff. I will now deal with the allegations in the estate facilities unit. With regards to those allegations, it is found that indeed the estate manager used abusive language towards employees. The spouse of the principal was allowed to manage, be involved in the employment of gardeners, and to drive the school vehicle. The estate manager gave false evidence to the acting director of Tshwane South when he claimed that it was not true that the husband of the principal was using the school vehicle. It follows, therefore, that the estate manager committed misconduct under paragraph 11.4 and 11.5 of the school's disciplinary code procedure for support staff. The HR manager failed to comply with her obligations when she requested the acting principal to sign the employment contract of Mr. A without having all the necessary documentation for that appointment. The acting principal proceeded to sign the employment contract of Mr. A, thus failed to verify that proper procedure was followed in the appointment. The acting principal has committed misconduct under section 18(1) A, B, and F of the Employment of Educators Act. Now, were the allegations reported to the GDE? It is common cause that the WhatsApp group incident was only reported to GDE Tshwane South on 18 July 2024, and the GDE officials engaged the management of the school on the allegation. This is when they learned of the bullying of learner 6. Allegations of misconduct were also made against GDE officials on how they handled the WhatsApp group incident. The SGB chairperson claimed to be in possession of the audio recordings of those meetings, but failed to share them, notwithstanding having promised to do so. These allegations were denied by the GDE officials. They also indicated that they never gave any consent for the meetings to be recorded. When they inquired from the management of the school and the SGB chairperson if any of their meetings were being recorded, the response was in the negative. The conduct of the SMT. The SMT of the school claimed to be unaware of all these allegations. The role of the SGB. The WhatsApp group incident was reported by the principal to the SGB chairperson the same time she informed the acting director of Tshwane South. The SGB further learned of the bullying of learner 6 the same time as the GDE officials. The SGB was unaware of the other allegations. The SGB chairperson and some SGB members attempted to interfere with the decision taken by the principal to provisionally suspend and charge the 12 learners in accordance with paragraph 1 and 3 of the misconduct of learners at public schools and disciplinary proceedings. This was after the principal had consulted with the GDE officials regarding the WhatsApp group incident. I will now deal with the recommendations. It is recommended that the following staff members be charged with misconduct: the principal, the deputy principal responsible for discipline, 2 educators for classroom-related incidents, the estate manager, the HR manager, and the acting principal. The GDE is to consider removing the SGB chairperson from the SGB in terms of Regulation 13 of the Governing Body Regulation for his attempt to interfere with the legislative powers and functions of the MEC and the HOD. This was designed to derail the investigation. According to the SGB chairperson, the letter he addressed to the MEC and the HOD on 31 August 2024 was drafted on the advice and with the guidance of his personal lawyer and not one appointed by the SGB. This letter was copied to a third party and contained serious allegations inter alia against officials regarding discussions that took place behind closed doors. This interference is also clear from the allegations that the SGB chairperson made at the SGB meeting of 29 August 2024, where he claimed there were potential attempts by the GDE to ban the SGB, and further claiming this was now a fight. These are the recommendations contained in the report, and I thank you. Okay, let me see over to you.
Okay. That was a very brief report. Open for questions, clarity seeking questions, but if we are fine, then we're going to close. And one, just remember your number. 1, 2, your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just remember your number. Yes, you can hit the first round, maybe we'll come back.
Good morning, Nobukai Ndango from Eyewitness News. Taking into consideration the recommendations that you've just made, particularly when it comes to the principal and the deputy principal, they're currently on suspension. MEC, what does that mean for that suspension? How does it impact the suspension? From what I understand, they were to return at the end of last month, which would have been a week ago or so. Have they returned? If not, is it because of the findings and the recommendations of this particular report? And then a second one, just on the question about the letter that was written by former President Thabo Mbeki's foundation, criticizing the department in essence about the mishandling, at least using the words that were used in that letter, by jumping the gun in some of the what you had implemented initially through the suspension of those 12 learners. What do you make of that criticism? Did you in fact jump the gun? And then the last one, I understand Gauteng Premier Banyaza Yusufi also wanted a meeting with you following the letter by former President Thabo Mbeki's foundation about jumping the gun. Has that meeting happened just yet, taking him into confidence about how all of this had unfolded? Has that meeting with the Premier happened? If not, when is it going to happen, and what do you expect is going to be tabled at that meeting? Thank you.
My question is Francisco for SABC News. I also wanted to find out about you engaging with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation just to find each other since after the letter.
Okay. Number 3.
From the NCA. Maybe the first question, you seem at loggerheads with the school, one of your entities. Just in terms of the response from the school, what has that sort of been like? What has the engagement been from the school? Will they be implementing the recommendations that have been suggested, and do you trust that those recommendations will be implemented? Then my second question is also around the Thabo Mbeki Foundation and even the Democratic Alliance, your GDE partner. Is the MEC being undermined by the Thabo Mbeki Foundation as well as the Democratic Alliance? My third question is, in terms of the legal ramifications for this, is the department ready for whatever outcome will come from the school? Because there seems to be a lot of legal muscle that the school also has in its own capacity. So is the department ready for that legal fight? And then just clarity on where the other allegations come from. I mean, I think we were aware of the specific WhatsApp group set of allegations, but then there was also about the estate facility manager, there was also about the teachers not being happy with, not greeting, not being greeted, that sort of thing. So was that found out during the investigation? And yeah, then just a response from the school. What has this been said?
Okay. Who was number 4? Yeah.
Hi, MC. Sulaim from Kyle from NECPAC 23. I just wanted to make sure about the process. Is it normal practice? I don't know if I'm asking this correctly, but to suspend someone before they actually know on what grounds they were suspended. You can just maybe explain, because now this is the first time that we've actually heard the misconduct that they have been found on. And does this count, this briefing, that they have been officially charged, or will they be officially charged now? Or does this count, or can somebody just explain how that will work?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mariska. I'm from Marula Media. We have it on record that the lawyer doing the investigation has worked for the GDE previously. How many times has he done work for the GDE, and can it still be considered an independent investigation then? And then, given that a member of the GDE told staff and learners that they would root out racism with or without evidence, is there any way for the media to validate these findings? And then the lawyer had indicated to several stakeholders during the investigation that he was unable to find racism. How does that correspond with the current findings?
Okay, that was the last one. Eh? Yeah. Let me see. I don't know who will share the.
Yeah, I will share.
Let us say this is. I think.
Yeah. Let me try. Let me start. You are the technical expert.
Yeah.
You are the lawyer.
Yeah.
You are the lawyer.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the
DA and.
DA and
Yeah.
and others. Okay, let me start firstly to say, yes, I did receive the the letter from the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, and the former President Mbeki is a highly respected statesman in our country. I respect him a lot. And when he first requested a meeting with the department, I went there. I was in that meeting. I took a team of the leadership of Tshwane that included the chief director responsible for Tshwane as a region, Kalego. I took at the time the acting director, now appointed director, Mr. Nganiming. I took the head of legal in the Tshwane South District to form part of that meeting. The person who was assisting with legal, Mr. I forgot his name, Marakal. Yes, he's here as well. Now, to go and engage, because of course, as somebody who's senior in our country and who's been there, and we really respect his views. So just to have an engagement, and we did have an engagement. We were able to clarify some concerns that he might have had, and we actually even left him with a file, big thick document of information that he might refer to. And then he responded, of which his response, of course, I warmly received it, and I appreciated his counsel and advice. And that's where it ended, because it's an advice, it's counsel, it's respected, it forms part or it will form part. And I committed that if what he's saying is correct or the advice, we'll gladly take it, because our intention is not to witch hunt in the school or target individuals. So if what he had recommended and advised on is what the report, the investigators found, I would have gladly say the former president was correct on this one and was not correct on this one. And actually now, that's where there are areas where I think obviously his advice is warmly received, and there are areas where obviously I'm of the view that you should have then gotten extra additional information. For instance, maybe engage with the learners, for one, because the Children's Act, what is it, Section 10? Yeah, Section 10C or something. Section 10C says children above the age of 10 need to be consulted on their own views on the matter. So they should. So these are, it's high school, so all children above 10. So could have then get in the other side. So within the advice, that component I felt that it was missing. But overall, it is noted, and there are no issues actually with the Thabo Mbeki Foundation. It's a foundation that I hugely respect, and I will always go there for counsel as well, so that you know that if there are challenges and I need advice, I will always go to the former president to advise me. And the meeting with the premier, I had an engagement with the premier just to give him an update as to how far is the investigation. What I could not do, I can't stop an investigation as recommended. I can't stop. This is an independent investigation. It would have even amounted to fruitless expenditure, because we are paying them, to actually conduct this particular work. So we couldn't even allow that to happen. So they had to conclude the work, because the intention is to look at the culture challenge in the school, not target this individual and that individual. Is there a systematic, this silent racism perhaps that exists in the school? If it's been able to be unearthed, let's unearth it and correct it. We're embarking on a corrective process, corrective. And the lessons from this type of investigation and experiences in schools is to say, how do we move to the next school where we find similar challenges? Because ultimately, we don't want our children to leave in schools with a certain animosity of these ones against that one. that's not, then we're no longer building a nation. Then it means the education system is actually failing in its quest to beyond creating the skilled population, but the responsible patriots who are united, who have a firm belief of a united nation. So this is what we're looking at. The school principal was brought back to the school. We've reinstated her. So why not add loggerheads? There are no loggerheads with the school. As you can see, this is a very good school. You can see the quality of infrastructure. This is a model school that we always speak about, and we pride ourselves as Gauteng government, Gauteng Department of Education. A school with a good, well-maintained infrastructure, where there's teaching and learning, where there's discipline, and where there's a comprehensive extracurricular program. As you can see, the facilities. So you can see that those aspects, but does not mean that inside there are no problems. And these are the problems that we are dealing with. Yes, we can suspend you without really, because we're investigating, but the grounds for suspension was not just to say, we're suspending you today, go. We also brought in, we applied legislation. You will speak to that piece of legislation that we utilize to get the principal to be suspended while pending the investigation. And we're not at loggerheads with the SGB. Discipline at school level starts with the SGB. Those are the first line. It's with the SGB. Hence the investigation and the disciplinary process and the suspension of the 12 learners, it was the SGB's decision, not GDE. They were doing their own work at the level of the SGB. And even when the 12 learners were absolved, it was the SGB decision. We never came as GDE says, no, the decision to absolve these 12 learners, therefore we're interfering, we're going to do, we didn't do that. We said it's a competency that is with the SGB, we leave it at the school. And the school resolved it, and those 12 learners returned to school, and they proceeded normally. At no point those learners were interfered, were questioned, were in any way, because we understand that that level of disciplinary process is at the level of the SGB. It's only when the individuals who were dealt with at the SGB level are not happy, then they can go request at a higher level to say the outcomes are not satisfactory. I would want the district to come and intervene. That's when we can intervene. But because none was done, we left it as it. And I was actually happy that the 12 kids were back at school, because I want my children to pass, to do well. So the more you take them out of school, it's a problem for me, especially if you keep them out of the school for too long. So that process was done by the SGB. So when we investigate, like I said, the investigation was to investigate the culture in the school, because there was an incident in 2016, incident in 2020, incident now. So these systematic, these events made us realize that perhaps maybe there's something deeper that needs to be found and understood within the school. And that's when we're busy with the investigation, we were picking up that the husband of the principal is driving the vehicle of the school, which both of them know it's not allowed. It's a property of the school, not a family property. You see, you need to differentiate, but it's not what we're really looking for. We're looking to check the culture, and all these issues came, even the 2020 issue came up, how it was handled, and also the response. Apparently the response was that there was a hemorrhage of, I would say in this case, white learners left the school because of how that process was handled. But the conclusion thereof was not even communicated, that it was the SGB's decision. It was the SGB's decision not to charge those that were accused, not GDE. And if there's those who brought the allegation forward feel that there was no media attention, I did not want media in my schools, honestly. The less you keep away from my schools, the better. But I can't keep away for some reason. You always find the reason to go in to my schools, you know, because I want schools to work. Even today, even if there was no media, I would communicate this to the school management and act based on the recommendation thereof that would have been brought forward by the investigative law firm. That's consistent. But because of the public interest, we have to report to the public on our work, because we are accountable to the public in everything we do. So we will go back to the TMF, Thabo Mbeki Foundation, later on. We are not worried about the legal ramification at all. Not at all. If people have personal muscle to go to court, it's okay, it's their right. But one thing that will not withdraw on is to get our schools right. Getting our schools right, it's a conviction. So bring lawyers, bring whatever, it's your right. But it does not mean that it's going to prohibit me or prohibit the GDE from doing what it's supposed to do legally. And that is to ensure that we have functioning schools which are performing functionally and properly. That one I'm not going to be prohibited at all. I'm not even fearful. I'm not even scared. I'll be more than happy. Because it's a conversation. So yes, we are going to act on the recommendation as they are. That's what we always do when we present these investigative reports. We act on them. All of them, we act on them. We acted at Davy Skills. We acted at the law school, Queenswood. We acted at all of the investigative reports. We act on them. In Katlehong, that school in Togoza, we acted. So we do act. And we do give report. But when we give feedback, generally, of course, we'll give it to the school. And if there are families affected, personal families, we also give feedback to the families and updates to those families that are affected by this investigative report every time we move. So we'll act as they've outlined them from the principal, deputy principal, the educators, the estate manager, the finance, etc. Everyone that's been here, we are going to act on them accordingly as recommended by the investigative law firm. So we'll just act them as they are. That's why I brought legal and labor here. And what I can tell you, GDE is very thorough when it deals with matters of labor. We don't lose. That one I can assure you, because we don't go on a witch hunt. We are firm, we know our work, and we just want people to do things right. And if you do things right, we are not going to disturb you. But if you do things wrong, you are inviting me. And this is the first line I told the school when I arrived, that if you behave yourself, do things properly, the school is running properly, you will never see me. You will meet me at the awards when I'm giving your learners awards. But if you do wrong things, you will see me at your school, because clearly you want my attention. You know, so if you don't want my attention, do things right. So there were some legal questions that you.
I think you can take them.
Well, I think we'll take some, and then come.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that's the situation in Pretoria. We thought we should give you as much as we can insofar as that media briefing is concerned. They're answering now questions over and above what I think was the substance of this briefing, which was to get to the bottom of the myriad of allegations, including those of racism at Pretoria Girls High. In the main, the school has found that the principal, the deputy, the acting principal, 2 educators, the HR and estate managers at some point were guilty of misconduct. I mean, there were claims at some instances that some of the white teachers don't greet their black colleagues because they're not sure if they are part of the cleaning staff. That's part of the claims that were made there. But it seems the principal is mostly being sanctioned for not being transparent enough with how they've dealt with issues to do with discipline at the school. There was a controversy around that WhatsApp group that had a number of matric pupils allegedly making racist remarks about their black classmates. The principal apparently was made aware of this and she wasn't transparent about how she actually dealt with it. There was also concerns that the principal's husband was actually being used to take care of the estate, essentially, of the gardens in that school, which of course is suspect in things like conflict of interest. This investigation found that this is true. He's gone as far as driving some of the cars at that school and was apparently involved in the hiring of some gardeners. That's of course going to raise all manner of concerns around what else might have been taking place. But I think what the MEC said about the institution as a whole is worth emphasizing. He says this is a model school. They've got good infrastructure. In fact, we look at this institution as part of our pride in Gauteng. However, that doesn't mean the institution itself does not have any problems, and that's why they're intervening. We'll continue to listen in to some of those answers as the MEC and their team give their responses to journalists who are at that particular media briefing. But on the whole, it seems that there might be some kind of action taken against the leadership of that school. In fact, another recommendation was for the SGB chairperson to be removed from their office because of apparently attempting to interfere with this particular probe.